Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the project, and then we're going to talk about the pre-contract stage, and then we're going to talk about the contract stage, and I'll invite the panelists up. So this project was originally designed as the Sofitel du Février Hotel and opened in 1980. We'll flash through some pictures there, you'll see them. Later in 2000, the hotel was taken over by the Lyco Group and renamed as the Corantina du Février Hotel. Shortly afterwards, the hotel was closed for a complete refurbishment, but up until 2014, it never opened. So basically, we have the tallest building in Lomé, standing 102 meters high or tall. In this industry, everything seems to be about pipelines and high buildings and stuff like that, but we won't talk about that. 45,000 square meters. So basically, the biggest and most visible building in Lomé with the best views once you're inside of the Gulf of Guinea. So from our perspective, I think it was mid-August 2014, Andrew McLaughlin introduced us to Mr. Ashok Gupta, who's the founder and chairman of Kalyan Group. And Ashok's vision was to design and develop the international quality hotel, five-star hotel in Lomé. And if I add in 16 months. So in anyone's books, that was quite a challenge anywhere in the world. So from our perspective, some 4 weeks later, it's the fastest turnaround we've had from a meet to appointment. We were appointed mid-September, and our brief was to fully design the property in 3 months. So our job today really is to share to you how the project was put together, what was achieved, and what the lessons were learned on the way. So I'm going to invite our panel up. So first, if Mr. Victor Tara could join us. Gents, if you can start coming up, and I'll introduce you as you walk. Victor is the Secretary General of the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and the Promotion of the Private Sector and Tourism. Mr. Deepak Dibyendo, Group CEO of Kalyan Group of Companies. Andrew McLaughlin, Senior Vice President for Business Development for Africa and Indian Ocean Islands for the Carlson Residor Hotel Group. Roelof van der Westhuizen, Roelof, Executive Director for Equate Africa. They're quantity surveyors specializing in Africa. Then on the contracting side, Kalyan Kalfazadeh, who is the Vice Chairman of Kinza Yapi. Kinza Yapi specialize in design and build projects. And then last, we have Tony Lecker, CEO of Ethnic Technologies, and they specialize in ICT for hospitality and leisure resorts. Right, so to start the panel discussion off, I'm going to just start with Victor, Deepak, and Andrew. Could each of you, starting from left to right from the audience perspective, just outline your roles in the project and what were the key drivers and objectives for this project? Victor?
Alors, c'est plutôt Victor, Atara. Oui. Je vous remercie pour la tenue de ce panel. D'entrée de jeu, je voudrais remercier donc l'équipe de Bench pour ce forum dans notre sous-région et les remercier pour avoir retenu ce thème qui est un success story, comme ils ont eux-mêmes intitulé le panel. Je crois que dans l'historique, le présentateur, le modérateur, a dit ce que c'était l'hôtel de Février, qui était ouvert depuis les années 80, géré par le groupe Accor, ensuite cédé au groupe Corinthia, et Corinthia ayant abandonné le projet, le gouvernement a repris, et ça n'a pas donné les fruits attendus. Le gouvernement a vendu l'hôtel au groupe Laïco, un groupe libyen, qui se promettait de le réhabiliter et d'en faire un hôtel de grand standing. Malheureusement, depuis 10 ans, la vente a été faite en 2006, et après 10 ans, le gouvernement ne voyait rien arriver. Et suite à la loi sur la modernisation de l'action publique en faveur de l'économie, l'hôtel, le gouvernement a négocié avec le groupe Laïco et a racheté l'hôtel auprès donc de la Laïco. Et c'est suite à cela qu'il y a eu donc une loi sur le partenariat public-privé, ce qui a donc permis que cet hôtel soit ce qu'il est aujourd'hui. Le rôle de l'État que nous représentons a été essentiellement de prendre conscience que cette infrastructure de grand standing manquait dans le parc hôtelier togolais. Et comment est-ce qu'il fallait s'y prendre pendant que la propriété était dans la main de notre groupe. Donc, le rôle de l'État a été donc de prendre une loi pour avoir de nouveau accès au projet, et ensuite a mis en place la procédure de réhabilitation et de rénovation de l'hôtel.
Deepak, do you want to talk a bit about, from your perspective, just your role, and from an organization's perspective, what were the key drivers?
Thank you. To start with, I mean, when you look at this project, and when I look back when we started this, it all started with Ashok, our chairman, who was just visiting this hotel. At that time, it wasn't a hotel, it's just a building. And he and along with 3-4 of team members, they just climbed up to 27th, 28th floor. And while he was on 28th floor, he said, look, this is what we want. This is must that we should have. So, it's not, business decisions are not always based on Excels and IRRs and all time. You got to see, you feel convinced, a lot of conviction behind it, that you believe that this is the right project for you, and that it worked out. And in totality, we built, refurbished this whole building and turned into a world-class hotel, where we are sitting in here in a record 15 months' time. And for us, I mean, it's the beginning of a long journey, what we see. This is our first step into hospitality, but definitely there are many more to come, and we are already in it.
Great. Well, big, bold step for your first step. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Good afternoon. I think from a Carlson Residor point of view, we, from the first phone call we had with Ashok on the opportunity in Lome, Ashok approached us and said he wants to do a hotel. He's got a commitment to the Togolese government, and he wanted to do a new build hotel along the beachfront in Lome. We as Carlson Residor had identified Lome as a market that required a Radisson Blu. We had looked at the Dufevere a number of years ago and really saw this old carcass and felt that if you were going to do a hotel in Lome, you needed to take over the Dufevere and not do a new build hotel for a number of reasons. One is if you took over the Dufevere, you really controlled the markets. If you did a new build, somebody eventually would take over the Dufevere and you would have a big competitor in the marketplace. So for us, accessing the Dufevere was critical to really control the market share in Lome. And secondly, it would be the fourth hotel that we had done a similar type of exercise where we had taken over an old existing carcass, and we did that in Sierra Leone, we did that in Gabon, and we done it in the Republic of Congo, where your speed to market is faster, your cost is a lot less, and we had Ashok had big ambitions as to the timelines that he actually wanted to have a hotel open. So the most logical thing was to really to unlock the du Février and come in and actually do this rehabilitation program.
So, with now sitting here with the benefit of hindsight, maybe if you could share, in those sort of early 3 months, which was very rapid, what were, good decisions you felt between the two organizations that you both made that were key?
Well, I think sort of upfront, there was immediate trust between Kalyan and Colson Residor, and there had to be. And then there really had to be a commitment to the program. So when we were sat around the table up front and said, well, we're going to turn this hotel around in 15 or 16 months, that needed to be believable. And then we needed to identify the correct professional team to actually execute that sort of decision. So going from selecting HDI as the hospitality consultant to do a market feasibility to assist Kalyan from a funding point of view, and then later on from a valuation point of view, to getting Source involved. We knew when we walked through the project we didn't need an architect. The structure was there, but we needed somebody who understood interior architecture and interior design, who also understood our brand completely, had close access to our technical teams, that it needed to be somebody in Cape Town we could react with very, very quickly, and somebody that we knew that if we said you needed to do something in a very short period of time, they would be able to do that. And the same thing went through the selection of the rest of the professionals, and really having Kalyan sort of have complete sort of trust in what we've sort of put forward as our sort of A team when it came to selecting Equate or any of the other professionals.
Yeah, I entirely agree with that. For us, it was first, like I said, it was a first project. So we wanted to bond with the best. So we always, Carlson Reddor with us, and then we moved around and we searched for all the consultants who are the best in the business. We at the outset, we agreed that we don't know much about this, but we had a conviction that this will be a good project. But what we did, we shortlisted all the consultants what we'll have, operator what we'll have, and when we got the best, the bonded with the best, and the conviction was, from day one, it was that we have to complete this in 14, 15 months' time. And that was it, our target. And everything, there are many blips, maybe we will discuss during the course of the talk, but we stay focused on that 15 months' time to achieve that. So that, I would say, conviction was our major factor in achieving what we achieved.
I think, sorry, something else to sort of add to that is everybody behaved from literally the first phone call as if it was a live, legally contracted project. So things were being run in parallel. So the designers were designing, the QSs were costing, the turnkey contractor was involved. We were behaving as if it was a signed, executed management agreement very, very early on, with the real trust that the paperwork was actually going to get done along the way. We, from a Colson Residor point of view, have a strategy in place with a blueprint in place, so we were able to go through our own internal approval processes faster than maybe some of our competitors, and that we were able to get the legal documentation in place. And there was a number of different contracts that needed to be sort of executed. So you had our international management agreement, you had the public-private partnership agreement with the Togolese government, you had loan agreements, you had design and build agreements, and all the professional agreements. So you had a lot of legal work running at the same time as the guys physically doing all the design work.
Okay, gents, we're going to have to... The
right.
clock's running, so I just want to chat a little bit, Victor, from your point of view very quickly, as government. In your larger plan for the rejuvenation of Lomé and Togo, how important was this project within the big plan?
Oui, avant d'y revenir, je voudrais préciser que dans la mise en œuvre du projet, pour ce succès pour le temps record dans lequel le projet a été réalisé. Le gouvernement, dans la loi qui a été prise, a accompagné largement l'investisseur, le groupe hôtelier, par un certain nombre d'avantages douaniers et d'avantages fiscaux. L'État a également imprimé une certaine célérité dans le traitement de ces dossiers fiscaux et douaniers pour permettre au projet de se réaliser dans un délai record. Pour revenir à votre question, à savoir le projet, comment s'inscrit-il dans le plan de développement de Lomé? Le projet s'intègre très bien dans le plan de développement de Lomé, en ce sens que on vous a parlé ce matin du développement du port en eau profonde de Lomé, où aujourd'hui ce port est capable d'accueillir les navires de 3e génération et qui accueille également les grands paquebots pour les voyages de croisière, et également la construction d'une nouvelle aérogare qui va apporter le nombre de passagers passant par Lomé à 2,5 millions par an. Donc Lomé je voudrais également préciser à l'attention des participants que Lomé est un hub financier. Dans la sous-région, nous avons ECOWAS, nous avons l'UEMOA, et les banques de développement de ces institutions ont leur siège à Lomé. Donc vous voyez, il y a une certaine dynamique dans les affaires qui se développe à Lomé, et Lomé avait besoin d'une infrastructure comme l'hôtel de Février, le Radisson Blu aujourd'hui, pour accueillir tout ce beau monde d'affaires qui viennent à Lomé pour le développement de leurs affaires.
Great. So I think we're quite clear. Bringing the private or the public sector private partnership was key. Obviously, bringing in materials, clearing them was key. So I think we've really covered that aspect of it. So I think let's maybe chat about retrofitting an existing structure versus a new build. So, I mean, Andrew, you've already stated that getting into the market quickly in the short term is the right thing. But from a long-term perspective, do you want to maybe chat about that, the advantages of an existing structure?
Well, I think if you take the emerging markets of Africa, a lot of these older hotel structures are still in the right parts of the city. The cities haven't had the same urbanization, so the city hasn't moved to another area. So you're able to access locations with huge grounds and huge structures, which today wouldn't be feasible to do. So it would be unlikely today that it would be financially feasible to build a 106-meter tall hotel. What we've also seen, though, if we take our cost per key for a Radisson Blu, it's exactly half if we do a retrofit of an existing structure. And as long as the structure is sound and safe, these older hotels that were built in the 1970s and 80s have, if anything, they have slightly oversized back of house, but the front of house is still good to use. But we'll take a commercial decision on it. So we might end up with a room that's slightly smaller than the perfect Radisson Blu, but the overall product is commercially sort of viable. If we take this hotel, the standard room is not 32 square meters, it's 30 square meters, but it's a fantastic room. The overall product is amazing. So we're going to take commercial decisions and make sure that it works.
Okay, and obviously the most sustainable or greenest building you can build is an existing one. So I think, Roelof, let's talk about procurement. Actually, sorry, I forget. I want to just talk about existing structures versus new. Let's talk about area ratios, because obviously when this building was designed, I guess they weren't really focusing on maximizing the gross building area as much as we do currently. Do you want to chat a bit about that?
Yeah, I think it was important at the initial budget stage to understand the way in which the existing structure and the new design of the hotel influences the cost. So which requires that the correct choices are made at the earlier stages of the project to avoid redesign and then cost in use. And then based on these outlined parameters, the type and the size of the hotel, the areas of front of house, back of house, public areas, rooms, and other amenities, we could determine an accurate cost estimate to inform the development appraisal. By providing an analysis of cost by area and function, we can ensure that the costs are allocated to those parts of the hotel that will deliver best return on investment over the life cycle of the cost. Maybe to expand a little bit more on the ratios and parameters of Hotel 2 Février, the parameters are 36% for front of house public areas, 18% back of house areas, and then 45% room areas. I think you've mentioned earlier 368 keys, which equates to 576 bays, the net room area of 52 square meters, and a gross area per key of 141 square meters, which is quite on the high side, and that's
So that's
front
high.
of house area.
Okay. So we've gone through the first 3 months, which were obviously very rapid on the pre-contract stage. So we've got a approved design that now needs to be costed and procured within 16 months. So could you maybe, Roelof, once again for you, just share the procurement process of this project and what were the factors in selecting them very quickly?
Yeah, so selecting a contractor to undertake the construction of a hotel requires an understanding of the procurement options available and to ensure that the right balance between risk and price is achieved. So having completed the cost planning process, agreed the budgets and the scope of works, the most appropriate procurement route was adopted based on consideration of 3 driving elements, which is time, quality, and cost. Obviously, time being of the essence for this project. A turnkey lump sum or design and build approach was adopted, where a number of principal contractors tendered for the scope of the works. The approach needs to be a clearly stated set of requirements in terms of finishes and the performance of the services installation. So following that, a negotiated process then followed to encapsulate these technical requirements and the scope of works. The contractual arrangement for this procurement route was based on the FIDIC EP.
One of you guys want to pass him a mic there? Thanks. I think they were telling you were taking a bit long. I think that was a subtle hint. But anyway.
Probably. All right, so the contractual arrangement, FIDIC EPC turnkey contract, and the advantages of such a procurement route and contractual arrangements, and then the transfer of financial risk from the employer to the principal contractor, the detailed design responsibility then moving from the client to the contractor, and program responsibility remaining with the contractor. So the DMB, or the design build approach, enabled design construction to continue simultaneously, enabling a shortened delivery period. So hence the word turnkey, with the principal contractor accepting most of the risk, being responsible for the delivery of the project at a lump sum cost price.
Okay, so we got design. It was clear at that point, as I understand it, that design and build was the only way to go here. So maybe Kalyan, I don't know for everyone's perspective, Kalyan and Kinza Yapi came in from a sporting perspective off the bench early this year to assist the Kalyan in getting the project completed. So maybe you just talk a little bit about your role here and what was involved to assist in completing the project.
Yes, as Kinza Yapi, we were involved in the last quarter of this project. It was more like a task to finish the project. And when you look in the history of Kinza Yapi, actually we had such works, tasks that has been given to us, such as, you remember the terrorist attack to Bamako Radisson, and then we had been called by the owner to finish and deliver the project within 15 days and to operate it. And it was a very difficult task, and we succeeded that. In 15 days, we reopened the hotel. Another one, I would say, like in Guinea, there was another project we were dealing, and there was the Ebola issue. And we stayed during the Ebola time, and we really achieved a lot of efforts and stayed there and keep our theme and made a successful project. And when we come back to this project, the owner called us and to realize the project within the time frame which was left for us to achieve. And then we involved in that stage to the project, and we mobilized within 10 days with 100 people into the project with professional team and realize what is left to be done.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, go for it.
Just to add to Kinza, I mean, we are so happy with the association that we have with them. We gave very, very short notice to them. And the team, they came, and the way they worked around, I never felt till date that it's a separate company, Kalyan, and Kinza is a separate company. So really, always, you know, the last mile is the most difficult, but they entered at the last mile time, and they really delivered it. So it was a very, very good teamwork, just to add to Kayan's contribution to the project.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, Deepak. I think let's move over to RCT. I don't know, I think I'm very happy with the bandwidth and the speed here. How are you guys finding it? Fast internet?
Thank you, Jeremy.
How was, pleasure, Tony. What was your guys' brief here from an owner's perspective for RCT for this project? Deepak, you know, this is, I guess, for Deepak and Carlson Residor. What was your brief and your objectives from an RCT perspective?
I think from a Carlson Residor point of view and from a Kalyan point of view, because of the meeting and conference facilities, because of the presidential auditorium, the IT requirements and the audiovisual requirements were going to be more than what we would say as a standard Radisson Blu spec. From an IT point of view, you want to run a top quality hotel, you need to have running hot water and fast internet, and I think this hotel's achieved both. So from an IT point of view, it was critical to get the right IT integrator involved to really make sure that we can actually have probably the best IT specs in West Africa from a hotel point of view.
Deepak, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I entirely agree. Not only on IT, if you look at all the gadgets, what we had, the speakers, or whatever we have put in the whole hotel, it has been top class. I mean, when we started this project, I mean, we never thought that it has to be the best in Lomé. We never thought that it has to be best in West Africa. We never thought that it will be best in Africa. We thought it has to be the best in the world. So each and everything, whatever we have done here in terms of gadgets, IT systems, putting for carpet to curtains and all, has been top class. So, I mean, IT, I see ICT, I don't see that an exception. We're pretty happy, even kind of encouragement we get when we see and the customers happy. You are happy with the performance.
I'm getting my emails, I'm sending them off, it's all fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Tony, sort of in the context of an existing building and a design and build contract, what were the challenges you faced and how were these overcome?
Well,
You've got about 5 seconds.
a
Sorry.
greenfield site is always easier for an engineer, obviously. This site and many sites like it are literally cast in stone. You need to make a hotel like this a modern site, and it was never designed to be one. So space and services are always a big challenge. Ironically, the more wireless technology is developed, the more cable guys like me have to make space for in hotels. So 8,000 meters of category 6 cable, fiber optics, that all needs to be put in place. Obviously, Carlson Residor have got an incredibly high standard from an IT point of view, so that makes things a little bit more difficult for the engineers, as we can see in the results.
Okay, so I think, you know, we've talked about what went right. I think we need to focus on what we would do differently. Obviously, somewhere earlier this year, we got I think Matthew sent us, where's Matthew? Sent us an email, change our flights, etc., etc. So with the benefit of hindsight, and maybe, you know, Deepak, Andrew, and from Andrew's perspective, what would you do differently I think this is really the core of this, what we need to share with the panel here. We've talked about a lot of things we've done right. Let's talk about how we would do it differently.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I mean, nothing succeeds like success. When you see it 15 months you delivered, it's fine. But there are many ups and downs that we have gone through in this 15 months. And if I have to turn back the clock and see what could have done since beginning, the first would be when we select the partner, just don't go by the name, the name in the market. You need to do some due diligence. You need to do even more for their commercial, their financial capabilities. The person or the company can be very, very good in terms of technical aspects, but if you don't see them or don't do due diligence on their financial capability, then their time comes when they puts their hands up and then you are middle of nowhere. So we had that issue. So if I have to turn back, the first and foremost thing I would do that. We need to do due diligence more. 2, since we were new to this project, we hired people, we hired good consultants like Equate, BMS, we hired, but then we never had Source, sorry. How can I be so? No more hard questions, huh? And see,
I've thrown him off now, sorry guys.
yeah, so I missed my point, huh? Anyway, so when you hire good consultant, you need to have your own team, which we didn't have. So we need to have our own team, own EPC kind of a procurement or engineering or a construction team to really take care of what's happening around. So probably in the good part of our project, we never had that. So we're completely reliant, I'm not saying good or bad, but we're completely reliant on what we were getting the information. We need to have our own people on ground, which we did really at the fag end of the project. So had our team being there, we could have anticipated what happened actually. Eventually, one contractor left.
So from a team, are you talking project manager type of people? What development managers? What are you?
Yeah, I'm saying project manager, typical civil guy, engineer sitting for mechanical work at a project, and a costing guy. To be there, right there, sitting there as a owner, and then getting the work done to the consultants, and just be there. So I mean, these are the 2 things I would say that when I look back, we could have done better.
Andrew, do you want to add anything to that from a operator perspective?
I think if we look, the only thing which, if I had to sort of do it all over again, is because it was an accelerated project and we had 15 months, once we signed off on certain designs and certain schemes, what we did is we changed some of them along the way, which I think puts additional pressure on the entire team to deliver the project. And that's obviously something you don't want to do on a 15-month project. You want to make sure that once you've designed something and you've signed off on it, that's what you're going to stick to. Because I think that eventually some of those changes then caught up with us later on, which caused a bottleneck and pressure, and in essence, the project was delayed a little bit in opening.
Okay, so I think before we do questions, if we can just quickly go, starting from Tony's side, one do, one don't, top of mind, just very quickly.
Yeah, I think do work with a professional team that you've got experience with, because you gel faster and better if there's a time constraint. Don't get involved with contractors and subcontractors that tell you what they can do. Rather, get involved with those that can show you what they've done. That helps. Yeah, and I think that's it. We had a very good experience with the client in this case, where they interacted with us but didn't interfere. They gave us a brief, got out of the way, and let us do what we do best. And I think we're thankful for that, because that helped us.
Kalyan, from your perspective, I mean, I know you were involved in the latter part of the project, but for this type of project, maybe top of mind, do and don't.
I think it's very important to have experience, trust, and dedication Those are the three things you have to have once you are involved in the project to make it in a perfect way. I would like to summarize it in that way.
Rudolph?
I think maybe linking to Andrea, I think implementation stage, lengthened planning and design stage is required, and don't go out to tender or to the market if you haven't got a proper set of requirements in terms of technical specifications and finishes.
Yeah.
I think don't I said, but about do's, we would like to repeat again and again the timeline that we hit. A month or two delay here, and I would like to correct that, but we would like to complete the projects well in time, which we did, and we would like to repeat this to happen again. So that's one thing that we never lost focus. In this project, if normally we had to airlift about 13 Boeings coming in Lomé. Lomé never witnessed that kind of Boeing coming in, only for the furnitures and the cables and all that. And we did it simply because we never wanted to compromise on the timeline. So we spent more, but we did it. So I think if I have to go back and repeat again and again, it's the timeline that we should never compromise in such kind of project.
Angie? Do and don't?
I think from a do point of view is pick the team that you've worked with and trust. Are very similar to what Tony said, that you don't have any conflict within your professional team to make sure that you can actually realize the project on time, and don't change the goalposts once you've set sail. If that's what you've decided to do, stick to it and stick to the date that you've all agreed to.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. If we can maybe questions and answers from the floor. Any questions, anyone? Come on, I knew you couldn't resist, Andrew. We got Andrew Linwood from Marine Hospitality in the front. Andrew? I asked them to do that, by the way, just for you.
Hello. Yes, I suppose I'd like to ask the panel, would you do it again?
As in what?
Well,
Yes,
it's been a tough project, right? But would you do it again?
we'll do it again, absolutely. And in other cities across Africa. You're not going to be able to, if you speak to hotel operators and hotel owners, if you could open a hotel every 15 months, would you? I think most people would.
Yeah, it's a great achievement. Well done.
Thank you. Any more questions? Lady over there, please.
You mentioned having to freight in materials with Boeings. When you look at the balance between the time savings and the costs that were incurred to deliver in that time, going back, would you have adjusted the time frame? Did the cost savings, because of such a compressed time frame, justify? Did the savings in the time justify the cost increases?
Well, my career, last 20 years I've spent in construction, EPC for oil and gas. One thing I've understood, irrespective of cost, where you're paying high, you should stick to your deadline, you should complete your work. It's not only about that extra cost that we paid, about 4 or 5 million, whatever. But the point is the morale of the team, the commitment to the government, commitment to our own people, commitment to Residor. So everything, when you sum up, this extra is whatever we have spent, that can be recovered in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months' time. But the credibility lost at that time. Today I'm talking to you, and when we're saying, and everybody agrees that we made impossible possible, purely because we took that decision at that time. Had that not been the case, we'd not been talking about, and this whole function in bench, to have one dedicated section, just purely because we made impossible possible. So I think it has a greater advantage. Everything is not on the financial side, but I think we are very proud and that we did it. And if we have to do it again, probably we'll do it again. Thank you. Is that?
I think if I can maybe add to that, I think in terms of cost per key, if you benchmark against other hotels, with taking into account the saving on the structure and obviously the time that was way shortened due to the existing building, it still does make sense and it's good value for money.
Thank you, Roelof. Any more questions on the floor? Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I know it was tough last shift, graveyard shift.